June 29th, Saturday, Mathew 16:13 to 19. We remember today Saints Peter and Paul, who guided the early church just after the time of Jesus. Both died as martyrs for the faith in Rome in the early 60s, just 30 years after the death of Jesus. Peter was crucified upside down in the courtyard to the left of St. Peter's Basilica, and Paul was beheaded between Rome and the sea in a place now called Tre Fontane, Italian for three fountains, after the legend that the three springs in the spot mark the three places where Paul's head bounced after being beheaded. Peter was buried in the nearest cemetery, which was on top of Vatican Hill, and St. Peter's Basilica was later built on top of Peter's tomb. Paul was also buried in the nearest cemetery, and the Basilica of St. Paul's outside the walls was later built on top of his tomb. Each of these two saints is important for different reasons. Peter is important because he was the first pope and kept the church united, which was growing very rapidly in the years following Pentecost. In the first years after Pentecost, it was the Jewish people who accepted Jesus as the Savior, and so the early church was a very Jewish church. But as time went on, Paul began to preach also to non-Jewish people, the Gentiles as they were called. His preaching was very successful, and he brought huge numbers of non-Jewish people into the church. So much so that the number of Jewish people in the church was greatly outnumbered by non-Jewish people. It is because of Paul that we are now in the church. So both Peter and Paul had very important tasks in the early church. Peter maintaining the unity in the church, and Paul who taught the Jewish people that Jesus is the fulfillment of their Old Testament hopes, and taught the Gentiles that Jesus is the Savior. Whenever you see statues of Peter and Paul, usually Peter is holding a key, symbolizing his duty as head of the church, and Paul is holding the Bible, symbolizing his preaching. Peter and Paul are role models of what it means to be a follower of Jesus today. Jesus called Peter, who denied him, and Paul, who persecuted him, to be his witnesses. So, why wouldn't the same Jesus call you and me today to be his witness and followers? Are we so different from these two men? Perhaps we, when Here, Jesus calls us by our name. We might say, who me or why me? Maybe that is what Peter and Paul both said when Jesus called them by their name. We say, Lord, why me? Jesus says, why not you? Wishing you a happy feast, Father Paul, CSSR from Kerala.